Captured here in these police files, strange things were happening in northern Queensland during the 1950s and 60s. Strange shapes and lights were appearing in the sky, and the police, Air Force, and aviation authorities were all looking for answers. Held in the collection at Queensland State Archives, this record, like many others, might bring up more questions than they can answer. If you have a theory, feel free to drop it down into the comments below. Coming and going for over 3 hours, this extended sighting has multiple witnesses and a fantastic description about the object and the way it moved through the sky. From the police report, 5th of June 1961. At 12:55 p.m, 2 farmers, brothers, William and Arthur Bacino, reported to Senior Constable Anderson, officer in charge, police, Mila Mila, that at about 11:30 they observed something in the sky over Mila Mila. It was moving at a very high altitude, but then reported that it was more or less stationary. Senior Constable Anderson observed the object through field glasses and was also approached by Terence Seary, schoolteacher, an ex-Royal Australian Air Force navigator of Mila Mila, who also viewed the object in the company of a number of townspeople. In his report, Senior Constable Anderson reported what he saw. I then got my binoculars and located this object, which was about halfway between the zenith and the horizon and approximately due west of Mila Mila. To the naked eye, this object appeared to be a dull star, but with binoculars, it appeared as a round sphere, which turned and became cone-shaped. At the same time, the thin end of the cone appeared to turn a red colour. At 1:24 p.m, it commenced to turn and glow red and then move towards the east. After moving slowly, it suddenly picked up speed and flashed across the sky in an easterly direction at a terrific speed and disappeared in about 2 seconds. About 10 seconds later, it was found that the object had returned to its original position, although it was not seen returning. At 1:40 p.m, it again flashed across the sky, but this time in a southeasterly direction. And at 1:45 p.m, it disappeared in a southerly direction. And at 2 p.m, it travelled in a northeasterly direction. On each occasion, after it had disappeared across the sky, on looking back, it was found to have returned to its original position. It then commenced to sink towards the horizon and finally disappeared at 2:50 p.m. Measurements of the object were not discernible, and several residents with late model cameras endeavoured to photograph it but were unable to get the object into focus. Object disappeared from view at Mila Mila at 1450 hours. Trying to find some sense in what they had just seen, in a radio transmission, we get an idea of what happened next. 6th of June 1961. Meteorological Station Cairns Airport advised of object but were unable to assist in identification. Stop. Flight Lieutenant Darby, Duty Officer RAAF Headquarters Townsville, advised that Pilot Officer Stewart in a Minjeel aircraft was leaving Townsville to search Mila Mila area and investigate. Stop. Residents, Mila Mila area concerned with presence of object. Stop. Inspector Gill, Cairns, and Inspector Cantwell, Townsville, advised. Stop. Any information regarding identification of this object which may be available would be appreciated. And then only a few days later, another sighting of the strange object only an hour away. 10th of June 1961. A truck driver aged 63 years reported to me that he saw a flying object which he could not identify pass almost directly over his house at Mount Garnet on the 10th of June 1961 at a height of 600 feet more or less. The time of sighting was 6:30 p.m. But this time, instead of trying to take a photo, Mr. Jones, the truck driver, was able to draw a quick sketch of what he saw that evening. Jones had the object in view for 8 or 9 seconds. It came from a southwesterly direction and disappeared in a northeasterly direction. It was flying exceptionally fast, but made no sound. The object appeared to be approximately 8 feet wide and deep. It had an oval-shaped top, which was light-coloured, and a wedge-shaped bottom, which was dark-coloured, with light-coloured stripes. Behind it was a trail of what appeared to be black smoke or vapour, which did not linger in the air but followed along like a tail. The object flew along, tilted in a forward position. At 6:30 p.m. on the 11th of June 1961, Jones again sighted what he took to be the same flying object. It was travelling in the same direction as previous. This time it passed some distance to the south of Mount Garnet, too far away to distinguish any colouring, but the second object was the same shape as the first and had the same tail or trail behind it. Mr. Jones is normally a very level-headed man. He is not a crank or a crackpot, and as far as I know, is usually truthful. I have no doubt that he saw something. So, this is where we get an idea of what this strange, seed-shaped object might have looked like, thanks to a sketch made by Mr. Jones. The sketch is rough, but its smooth shape is consistent with other reports. We've taken the opportunity to use the description and the sketch to render a rough visual of what Mr. Jones may have seen that night in the sky. Flash forward a few years. In 1965, R.A. Roberts, a grazier at Dornier Station near Nebo, about 800 kilometres south, reported on what he saw at 6:45 p.m. on the 24th of June. I saw that it was dome-shaped with a row of brilliant bluish-white lights with a bright red tail. The colour of the red tail did not vary and the flame was a consistent size. It approached from the west and turned about a mile from where I was standing and headed off in a northeasterly direction. I could hear no engine noises. I could not see any legs hanging down from under the dome. Nothing was visible owing to the brilliance of the lights. The bottom of the dome appeared to be black. The object was travelling at a terrific rate of speed. I would have no idea what the speed would be, as I have never seen anything travel so fast. It did not appear to increase or decrease its speed whilst I had it in view. R.W. Rook, a senior constable, followed up with Roberts. Having known him for 4 years and considered him to be reliable, in his report he writes, "I went to the scene and found that a tract of country did in fact look as if it had been subjected to intense heat, but the leaves on the tree, although black and burnt, were pliable and moist. The tract of country was 200 yards wide and went for a distance of about 1.5 miles around a small mountain and continued on for another 4 miles, then stopped." This report also contains a few more drawings to help illustrate what was seen that night. The shape is very similar to the sighting years ago by Mr. Jones. Dark underneath, curved with bright lights. We've taken the opportunity again to use the description to render a visual of what it might have looked like shooting through the sky. The reports held in this file range from the 1950s all the way up to the 1980s in northern Queensland, and it's only one of the million records held at Queensland State Archives. But sometimes things don't stay a mystery for very long. A strange figure that appeared to be wearing clothes was spotted in a crevice on the side of Castle Hill in Townsville in 1956. The police report reads, "Sir, I have to report in respect to the above that the object lodged in a crevice in the face of Castle Hill could not be identified with binoculars. A length of rope was obtained from the Marine section of the RAAF Townsville, and a member of the RAAF Marine section was lowered over the cliff, and he identified the object as an empty carton of Foster's lager. He removed the carton and the rope was returned." All the records used in this video have been digitized and are available for you to read yourself online. So you can imagine what had so many people look into the skies in northern Queensland. But also, you can do your own research here at Queensland State Archives. Only a small part of the collection here is digitized, but we are open to the public. But I have to warn you, sometimes looking for answers will bring up more questions. But at least, there's plenty of places to look.